to put up with it.
I think we go here. Honourable Damien O'Connor, I think.
Oh, look, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do take the opportunity to counter what the Minister has said. We have been negotiating in good faith with Fonterra for the last 2 months on this issue. In fact, the proposal was that they wanted our support for the bill prior to the vote taking place, and on the basis that they agreed to a legislated cap on the fund size. This was at a time when there were proposals put to farmers and yet to have any endorsement. Well, we are, I guess, lucky to have a clear view of the farmers, regardless of the debate over how many farmers, support or otherwise, and we have continued to discuss in good faith with Fonterra whether there is value in having a legislated cap. The fact that the second vote did not reduce the proposed cap from 25%, as agreed in principle 2 years ago, down to 20%, which is what Fonterra took to the farmers prior to the vote, saying that it would reduce to 20. We went back and, in good faith, negotiated with Fonterra around the technical issues, taking advice from them on how best to structure the amendment. We had discussion as to why we shouldn't legislate for 20%, which was my preferred option. Because the Minister stands up in the House and says, oh, well, they're going to manage it about 10%, so that the headroom between that and 20 is huge. Well, I agree with that, Minister. But Fonterra themselves came back and said we want it at 23 because at the trigger point of 18, at which time they will start to take action, and I'm happy to, and will later in the debate table this for the Minister's edification, we were happy to accept their argument that from 18 to 23 was a 5% headroom space that allowed them to reduce the fund size without any potential to legal penalty. We worked through that process, knowing full well that they were at the same time negotiating with the government, because Fonterra and the government, rightfully, have been in close association negotiating through this the whole way. And that's as we would expect. For the Minister to stand up in the House and firstly claim that it was late notice, then I think he's admitted that perhaps it's not the issue he first said, because he knew full well what was going on here. And in fact, I had indicative notice that the government, while not comfortable, hadn't made up a call. I understood that. I was hoping that the Minister might have seen wisdom to do this in the House today. He's chosen not to. And the question I ask is why? Come back to the point. In good faith, we accepted Fonterra's advice to move from the 20% cap that we proposed to a 23% cap. And now the Minister's coming back and saying, oh, well, it should be at 20 because Fonterra are going to manage it at 10. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Chairman, what this does is question the whole agenda in the passage of this legislation. And I go back, Mr. Chairman, to a proposal put to our Cabinet that was to float shares in Fonterra. We rejected that. The Labor Cabinet did. Said to Fonterra, go back and revamp that. And they took the revamped proposal to farmers, and the farmers rejected that because they too saw that there was an agenda to get Fonterra shares on the stock market. Now, TAF is a new evolution of that, Mr. Chairman. And one might say we're a bit paranoid. The draft TAF legislation, as put in the House by Minister Carter, had, in the first page of the commentary, explanatory note, to strengthen the capital markets of New Zealand. That is what the explanatory note said, that this bill was about strengthening the capital markets of New Zealand. Well, we accept that there will be a unit fund. I suggest that the intentions of the government and of Fonterra may have been more far-reaching than the Select Committee thought wise, more far-reaching than the opposition thinks wise. And Mr. Chairman,
Richard Prosser.
So that my earlier comments